This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use our offer code FINANCE.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Kerry Lutz, the Financial Survival Network. We are back. We've got special guest with us today. You know him quite well, Martin Armstrong of ArmstrongEconomics.com. And we're talking about the blood moon, about the cycles, about whether your life is indeed a random series of events or whether it's all preordained and you really have no choice in the matter. And Martin, welcome back. It's great to have you.
Oh, it's always good to come back.
Hey, so the blood moon, we had the first of 4 of them. Interestingly enough, they all fall on Jewish holidays, and they're all coming in the next year or so, and they're significant in some way. Why don't you tell us what's the significance here?
The interesting thing is that they line up exactly with our economic confidence model, and the last one is 2 days before the major peak, which is September 28th. So our model picks September 30th for the next, change in the business cycle.
And you're saying there's going to be a sovereign debt big bang right around that time?
Yeah, from that period on, the only thing that's actually holding up the world economy right now is truly the United States. That's it. I mean, China is declining sharply, and Europe is basically really broke. And so there's not much. I mean, even Russia, all the emerging markets are declining. It will decline further into 2020 or so. So the only thing that is really holding up the world economy right now is the United States. And we're not in a huge boom. We have a lot of underlying issues that are still highly questionable as far as like the lower end real estate is not really going to recover for a long time, but the high end is still moving up. That's largely a lot of capital coming from Europe, and especially a lot of Chinese are just pouring money into the United States right now. And everybody's trying to get off the grid, so to speak, because of their concern about the banks in Europe. And you have one of the richest guys in Asia just finally sold his last shopping center. He's checking out of China. He's cashed in everything. So the general consensus seems to be everybody's starting to get really concerned about China going through a credit crunch collapse here. And it's basically poised for a low going into 2020. So the only thing that's holding the world economy up is the U.S. right now. But when this turns down, starting in October of next year, then that's it. Then we're back into a world sharp economic decline. And unfortunately, we're going to most likely see taxes rise because these people will be concerned that they can't sell their debt, and they're going to say, oh, well, it's because we have deficits. So they want to fill that in. And so in an economic decline, which makes it worse, they'll be raising taxes and doing everything under the sun to try and close in the deficits.
Yeah, and that's going to be real bad because the last thing you want to do in an economic decline is raise taxes because that further reinforces the cycle, right?
Yeah, I mean, plus, honestly, most of what they put out about this is just absolute propaganda. And, they always come out and say, oh, we're going to get the rich, whatever. That's a great thing to say. Joe Biden, during the last elections, he says, oh, the Republicans are for the super rich. Well, okay, who are the super rich? And he's defining it, according to the tax code, as household income of $250,000. Mm-hmm. Then they're searching for money everywhere. Britain came out and said, we will find you. And all governments are now coordinating to give information up on anybody that has an account in their country, so they can all go hunt them for money. And essentially, this is very, very disastrous. But they don't quite understand that. I mean, you had in the Patriot Act that they're now searching for. You have to report any wire more than $3,000. So it's nice to say, oh, we're after the rich who are not paying their taxes. They're not after $1 billion wires. They're after $3,000. So one woman, it's now Washington Post reported, and I know several people have not gotten their refund checks from last year yet. Mm-hmm. So what the IRS is doing is that totally illegal, but they're searching their databases, and if your parents even owed them money, now they're taking your money.
Yeah, that's totally. The child's not supposed to be responsible for the sins of the parent.
So what's next? So, well, you owe money because your ex-girlfriend did or something?
Yeah.
I mean, where does it stop? Legally, if you didn't sign a document guaranteeing anybody's debts, it's not yours. So, but of course, insane. The government, they know what they can do. They get away with it. And if you want to try and challenge it, well, good luck. It's going to cost you probably $500,000 to go get back whatever heck they stole. And then you can't sue them for legal fees.
My parents always said you can't fight City Hall.
No, so it's just largely a total confiscation of wealth on every possible level on a global scale. And that's why we're really going to go down. And these people don't understand what they're doing. But we have unemployment among the youth in Europe over 60%. And you have Forbes magazine and it came out and said 65% of students in the United States upon graduating cannot find a job in what they went to school for.
Yeah, they're driving taxis. 23% of them, I think, are doing minimum wage work, which means Walmart type stuff.
And they have huge student loans that they can't pay. Mm-hmm. The UK just sold all its student loans for 25 cents on the dollar.
That was pretty good.
And they took in the money, and now you have collection agencies going around chasing people asking for 100%. And they're chasing them down in every country.
Isn't that wonderful?
So, I mean, if that's what you were willing to do, why didn't you give the students a chance to say, okay, fine, if I give you 25%, I'm done? No, they sold it to somebody else who now goes after them for still the 100%. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, they're going to do that here.
Yeah, no doubt. Eventually, I mean, there's talk, just read yesterday, the IRS again bringing in private collection agencies to collect their debt. And, many states, Martin, have experimented with tax amnesty, and yet the federal government has never done that. And you see the states bring in tens of billions of dollars with these tax amnesties. Why doesn't the federal government do it?
They're largely insane. I just published the data from the Internal Revenue Service. It showed that the Reagan tax cuts produced more money.
And the Bush
you
tax
lowered
cuts.
The tax rate, then people said, okay, fine, then I'll bring my money back home. And he actually increased revenues. But you have the Obama administration stuck in this woman into the IMF, and the real agenda here is to raise taxes back to the pre-Reagan era, and they want to go back to 70%. And the IMF has put out a study saying that, it doesn't hurt, and it should be 80%.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's just going after the little people because, look, you know the super wealthy, and they basically can choose whether or not to realize income and when to realize income. That's what you have to understand, because they can defer income into the future. They can borrow on the value of their stock holdings and other assets, which is not a taxable event. And then they kind of accrete income if and when they choose. And then they own real estate, which is a tax-favored type of income. So they get income when they want. Well, we're going to talk more about this up next, and also about the war cycle that Martin sees on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio.
This episode with Martin Armstrong is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it so easy and fast for you to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use our offer code FINANCE. You'll be amazed at how easy it is to use. Everything is drag and drop. You just take it off your desktop, drop it onto the site, and they've even got an e-commerce solution available so you can be up and selling things right away. If you do happen to run into a problem, they've got 24/7 support to help you get through any problems. It's amazingly affordable, too. Service starts at just $8 a month. If you sign up for a year, you get a free domain name. But getting started is easy and free. You start with a trial, no credit card required, and you start building your website right away. It's amazing how powerful and simple the solution is. Go to squarespace.com, get started building your website today.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
We are back with Martin Armstrong on the Financial Survival Network. We haven't talked with him in a while. Martin, war cycle, what is going on there? Who is going to blow up whom? And what war can we look at next? I mean, we see what's going on in the Ukraine, but it looks like everybody wants to kill everybody. And then also I wanted to talk to you about what happened out in Nevada with that rancher, because everybody in the world is fed up with their government as well, right?
Yes, the Nevada incident is showing that we have two models. One is that has just tracked domestic issues, which would be civil unrest, civil war, revolution. Then we have a second set of data, which is international. And what's interesting is both of these models end up converging at this time. It hasn't happened since the 1700s. So then we have an overthrow, French Revolution, American Revolution, and rebelling against monarchy. So it looks like we're in that same situation again, and I think this is why Homeland Security is buying billions of bullets and tanks for streets in the United States, because they know they got a problem. And this Nevada incident showed that all these militia from the country were all willing to go out there and defend this guy. So it's showing there's an underlying resentment here as well. And Ukraine is interesting. Ukraine is actually the biggest of the Eastern Bloc of countries. You can hear of Estonia and Latvia, etc., but they're basically under 10 million people. You have Ukraine is the only one that's like about 45 million. So Ukraine has been a very important strategic place for a long time. People may not realize it, but Crimea is actually where the Black Death came from to start from and spread into Europe. Mm-hmm. That was from an invasion from Asia. So the Crimea has been a strategic piece of land going back thousands and thousands of years. It's changed hands back and forth so many times. It's crazy. But what we have on the international side is old wounds are coming back. You're seeing China rumbling about Japan. As long as everybody's fat and happy, nothing happens. As soon as the economy turns down, then politicians honestly are faced with a dilemma. If people are going to get mad and go after them, or you have to find an external enemy like a shell game to say, oh, it's not me, it's them. So you see all of a sudden China rattling swords against Japan. And I can tell you, I've been to Beijing. You ask for a Japanese restaurant, and they look at you like you're a traitor. You know, you don't find any. The resentment just goes back way, way too much. And in Europe, you have Putin basically even came out and said that the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was the fall of the Soviet Union. Putin is a old world type guy. He still thinks that empire, that the strength of a nation is how much land it controls. I mean, that's really, really old school. Japan showed that it has got nothing to do with natural resources, gold reserves, or anything else. It is the wealth of a nation is its total productivity of its people. And you can put all the gold you want in Bangladesh. If their people aren't educated, they're not going to produce anything. All right, so it's not going to do it. Japan had nothing, no natural resources, and they rose from the ashes to become the second largest economy in the world.
Hong Kong, too. Hong Kong, a similar story, right?
So, yes, and now, I mean, China is. Now, why did China go up to become the second and such a boom where Russia did not? Mm-hmm. Russia, the political system is substantially different. Yes, communism fell, but you replaced it with an oligarchy. If you go to Moscow, yes, there's very big restaurants, a lot of very nice things. However, they're all owned by oligarchs. And you can't open a small restaurant in Moscow, so you have to pay protection money or you'll be killed. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the entrepreneurial spirit of freedom there in Russia that you have in China. So the approaches were different. China's communistic government didn't care so much about the individual. So they had the saying that it was called the tall poppy syndrome. Any poppy that grew taller than the rest of them's head could be cut off. But as long as you stayed inside the pack, and they didn't really care what you said. Russia cared about what everybody thought, what everybody said. So you had the Stasi in East Germany. A friend of mine was there, and he said when it fell and they went to redo the apartment that was now theirs, there were microphones everywhere hidden. And his father went down because you get your file from that the Stasi kept on you, and he was shocked. All his friends were basically informants, and now he won't be friends with anybody. Uh-huh. But so it's a completely different style. You couldn't. They cared about what you said. If you spoke badly about the government, you were dead. So where China didn't do that. So China was able to boom very rapidly. Russia has not. So Russia is still in this old world thinking process, and this is what Putin is really kind of up to, and why he is being more aggressive and wants to retake Ukraine and Estonia and Latvia. He wants to rebuild the Soviet Union.
Right.
What's he going to do with it? God knows. Okay.
Yeah,
but
that's a good question. Like, careful what you wish for, because the old Soviet Union was certainly not a panacea, and there was a lot of misery there, and it drove tens of millions of people to become alcoholics. Let's face it. It was not a great place. In
Ukraine, they basically, they really, the West hate really Russians. They hate them with a passion because of what Lenin did. And that was very, very serious. And I mean, I went behind the Berlin Wall before it fell, and with a friend to go see his family that were trapped on that side of the wall. The day was put up, and his cousin, she would speak freely only when nobody was around us. As soon as somebody came anywhere remotely close, she would point to the building and say, "This is our wonderful government. They take such wonderful care of them." As soon as the person would pass, she'd call it, they're no good.
Those no good bastards.
Whatever.
Those no good commie bastards, they should all drop dead tomorrow, right?
I know. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
And so it's a completely different thing. And they're very much hated for what Lenin had done, and Stalin primarily, really. His purge was just amazing. So, I mean, those memories are there a lot. So Putin is looking at landmass, and that is what he judges whether he will be successful or not. And his economy is turning down the same way as China, and it's pointing straight down into 2020. So the only way he can prevent another revolution domestically is to find an external source. And it's like the only thing I can equate it to is kind of like the feeling when Reagan took office versus Jimmy Carter.
Right.
The losing of the people in Iran, et cetera. I mean, the feeling was that America was at its low. There was no respect. We were just a patsy. Reagan came in and restored the confidence that people had. Yes, a great country. That's more than what he did. It's a psychological thing. And this is what Putin is doing. It's the same exact thing. He's making people feel good that Russia is now standing up, and he's very popular for taking Crimea.
Yeah, Russia is back. The bear is back, right?
It's got nothing to do whether it's great economically or whatever. We now own it, and so we're coming back, and we're reclaiming what used to be ours. And so it's a different atmosphere.
It's like atavistic, basically, reclaiming the glory days, because even though everyone was miserable, doesn't
matter.
The empire was there. It stretched from Asia to Europe, and it was respected, even though it was fearsome respect.
He's creating that fear factor again. But economically, what he's doing, May 1st, they're signing an agreement with Belarus, and they're basically going to try and create a single currency, a single central bank, and it's to compete against the euro.
Mm-hmm. So
he is economically trying to move in that direction, but honestly, he can't deal with the oligarchs, and you're not going to be able to get that system out of there. So I don't really see Russia is coming back as a real boom, whereas you see it in China, but you don't see it in Russia. So that's a substantial difference.
So moving along, to China, actually, want to talk about China, where you see them heading as far as economic collapse, because we see it happening with Japan. So we'll talk about that, the impending worldwide economic collapse that you see happening in the third quarter of 2015, up next on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio.
This episode with Martin Armstrong is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it so easy and fast for you to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use our offer code FINANCE. You'll be amazed at how easy it is to use. Everything is drag and drop. You just take it off your desktop, drop it onto the site, and they've even got an e-commerce solution available so you can be up and selling things right away. If you do happen to run into a problem, they've got 24/7 support to help you get through any problems. It's amazingly affordable, too. Service starts at just $8 a month. If you sign up for a year, you get a free domain name. But getting started is easy and free. You start with a trial, no credit card required, and you start building your website right away. It's amazing how powerful and simple the solution is. Go to squarespace.com, get started building your website today.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back on the Financial Survival Network with Martin Armstrong. So, Martin, China, you said the richest guy in the world just sold out all of his holdings in China. So you don't get wealthy betting against the wealthiest guy in the world. So obviously he sees a major collapse happening there, credit meltdown. It's got all the makings of 1929 in China, doesn't it?
Yes, but I think that China, though, is going to survive unlike Japan did. Mm-hmm. And mainly because although China is having issues, and they just actually tried to sell some bonds and they weren't bought. So their auction was not fully sold. So that was kind of a shock to a lot of people.
Especially to them, huh?
Yes, and it's indicative of the credit crunch that is there. And there was too much borrowing, too much excessive bidding up on the real estate, et cetera. And the government's been trying to bring that down. But, I don't see them as doing draconian laws that, no, you can't sell, no, you can't do this, and we have to support these companies. We can't lose face and let them go bankrupt. China's doing that, and he's not doing the mistakes that Japan did. And Japan just basically drug out its economic decline and for a full 26-year cycle. Had they left it alone, usually these things resolve themselves in 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I think that China will bottom also probably around 2020 and take off. And China will be much stronger for it. I think longer term, it will become the largest economy in the world. It will surpass the United States, probably because we're going to go crazy on taxes. But the difference, when I was invited to China back in 97 by the government, they took me into a facility. I thought I was really going, down a rabbit hole. It was all surrounded by tanks and everything, and I thought, oh my God, where the hell am I going now? And in this room, they were surfing the internet. This is back in 1997. They had hundreds of people in there downloading everything on the internet. And what was fascinating was that you have to realize these were communists becoming capitalists. And they asked me for help because they didn't understand what was taking place. They were tracking tea. There were like 249 different varieties of tea in China. I didn't even know there were that many. But they kept track of every price. Now, under communism, it's the same price everywhere. Mm-hmm. They allowed it to float, and the interesting thing is they didn't interfere. They were just observing. And they were asking, why is this tea selling for more here than it did over here? I said, well, first of all, where's the origin? And they showed me the origin. I said, well, it's going to be the cheapest at the origin. And people always want something from somewhere else. They think it's better. French wine, it's Australian wine or whatever. So it will naturally have a premium for that, plus you have transportation costs. And they go, oh, okay. But what I was impressed with was they were not interfering with the economy. And they were just allowing everything to take place and just observing. Whereas in Russia, it's still very much in control. And Russia never really let go. So they're just always there. And that's why Russia hasn't boomed and China has. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's quite important, because I think it tells a lot about the future of China. We have a credit crunch right now, and we're going to go down hard. And this will be most likely, will make it even more difficult, is that the dollar will rise. The dollar always rises during particularly an economic decline. And we call it the flight to quality. But essentially what it is that people then, it's a liquidity crisis. So people need cash, so they start selling assets. So your asset values tend to go down. Your stock market will go down, real estate will go down. But in proportion, what's happening is the currency is actually rising. So it's a yin and a yang. When everything's booming, the purchasing power of the currency declines. As soon as the economic decline comes, then the purchasing power rises and the assets fall. So they're on opposite sides of a seesaw. So that tends to really fuel the decline even more. Because what will happen, that's why we ended up with protectionism, et cetera, because as the currency rises, then your exports decline. So that makes the economy implode even more.
Right.
And in the Great Depression, they didn't understand what was happening, and they were blaming other countries, so then they started protectionism to try and protect the jobs.
Which really put steroids into the whole decline.
It made it worse. Mm-hmm. So what we have to realize is that after October of next year, as the economy declines, the dollar is going to rise again. Mm-hmm. And as it rises again, what's going to happen? That it's going to put more of a liquidity crisis on all the emerging markets, including China.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these smaller countries have issued their debt in dollars to relieve the currency risk so people would buy their bonds. But now they're going to have to pay back in dollars.
So that's deflation for them.
Yes. This is what the problem was in south part of Europe. Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, etc. Sounded good. Oh, okay, fine. Or join the euro. But then what's happened is they get into this deflationary spiral. The euro actually goes up because what's happening is largely their economies are collapsing. People need more and more cash, so you end up with this liquidity crisis. And the cost of their debts, when it was converted to the euro, basically have doubled.
Yeah.
So their national debts in real terms are twice as bad today than when they went in.
Exactly, yeah.
So that causes unemployment to reach 65%. It's a real mess.
Yeah, that happened in Hungary because they had all these Swiss franc loans for autos and all sorts credit cards, and then their currency went zilch, and they wound up with huge, unbearable debt burdens.
Same thing in Australia in the 80s.
Yeah.
And people, take on the debt in a foreign currency, assuming that they're going to reduce the cost or interest rate or whatever.
Yeah.
But then what happens when the currency goes the opposite way? Then they get wiped out.
Reverse carry trade.
So this is what we're expecting after October next year. The dollar will rise, as it always does. Mm-hmm. As soon as the economy starts to decline, there'll be the liquidity crisis. And our major crisis this time, each bubble that bursts is something slightly different. And this one tends to be more on the sovereign debt crisis issue and pension funds.
Right.
The pension funds were designed, they needed basically about 8% to break even, and they haven't been able to do that for years. So most of your pension funds are insolvent.
Underwater, yeah.
State of New Jersey just came out and said that they're down by $56 billion. And they
Illinois, basket
Governor
cases.
Christie came out, and it was interesting. He said the unions are going to have to do something here and give something back. And they said, yeah, we're going to do something. We want more.
Yeah, but they're just acting like typical unions, right?
Yeah, so I don't see any solution to that. The unions will never give anything back voluntarily, so then you end up with more civil unrest coming. It's just crazy, the whole thing.
Hey,
but
so Martin,
that's what we're looking for. Unfortunately, a substantial rise in civil unrest as more and more pensions, largely the at state and local levels.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Nobody would have designed a system like this, honestly, if they had half a brain.
Well, these things evolve over time. Nobody really designs them, just like you always talk about the euro. They said, oh, we know it's bad, but we'll fix it later. There's a lot of rumors about the demise of the petrodollar, the end of the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency, that the Chinese and the Russians will just effectively jettison it. And you see all these bilateral trade deals that the Chinese are doing, with the Australians all over the world. What do you say to that, the demise of the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency?
Absolutely ridiculous. They have no concept of what they're talking about. If you look at the trade numbers, China has surpassed Europe in world trade. It's now 8.5%. Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, it's very nice, all these wild scenarios people put up. Why they hate the dollar so much, I don't know. I mean, but it's largely just to sell gold, which they don't quite understand. They have to keep trying to destroy the dollar in order to get people to buy gold or something. But it's got nothing to do with that. I mean, gold is a hedge against government. That's fine. But the dollar is not going anywhere. You have the main problem with the euro is that there is no single national debt. Consequently, you have a major banking crisis because all the banks had to have a piece of everybody's debt to be politically correct. That has been a total disaster.
Yeah.
The only place big money can go is the U.S. debt. Mm-hmm. China couldn't even sell its bonds last week. Okay. Russia, you want to put money into Russia? Go ahead. Good luck.
The big kleptocracy.
Yeah. I mean, you'll never get it out. There is no other alternative to the dollar at this stage. China forget it. It will reach a point, but we're talking about off the bat around 2032. All right, not now. Mm-hmm. Canada, fine. Australia, Britain, but these are tiny economies. Mm-hmm. You can't put this kind of money in there. And we have a $17 trillion national debt, almost 18. That's bonds. 40% of it is held by foreign countries largely, and that's the reserves. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they. How can you replace that? China doesn't have a $17 trillion bond issue to replace it, and nobody would trust China.
Yeah.
And they're not going to trust Russia. So I mean, let's be practical here. And there's just no other place to go. And it's not that the United States is a fantastic place. It's it's the ugliest of the twins. That's about it. Right. But you can't get anywhere else. And eventually, what I think you will end up with a new reserve type currency, but not any individual country. But we have to. In order to get to that point, you have to have the pain first. You can't walk into, like these people that ask me, we'll return to the gold standard. Let's play that out, okay? Go to a politician and say, let's go to the gold standard so you can no longer say, vote for me and I'll give you X, Y, Z. Not going to happen. These people are not going to give up their power. For nobody. They will not run a government honestly, and it doesn't matter what the monetary system is. I mean, we had a gold standard, Bretton Woods, they still printed more than they had in gold, so it doesn't matter. I don't care what type of system you are, you have to have its fiscal restraint. And unless you're going to deal with that, putting gold, platinum standards, or whatever you want to make, isn't going to do anything unless you reform the political side.
And all governments do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every government, whether it's China, I mean, they printed more money in China than the U.S. and the EU combined over the past 5 years, right?
Absolutely. I mean, so it's got nothing, this idea of reserve currencies and all this sort of thing, this is really very old school. We're at the threshold of having to basically move to a new concept, and that's really the total productivity of the country. That's Japan and honestly, Adam Smith was correct. He said that is the wealth of a nation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the invisible hand, and they were trying to say it was gold reserves or whatever, and he said no. If a farmer in Britain sells his wheat to somebody in France, he returns with gold.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy makes a saddle in Britain and sells it to somebody in France, he returns with gold. It's the productivity. It doesn't matter if it's wheat, if it's labor, or whatever it is. This is our problem and why the economies are declining. If you take total government revenue, federal and state levels, as a percent of GDP, all right, we are about 40% in the United States. Therefore, what's happening is this is the sector that doesn't produce anything.
It's parasitic.
It
totally
is. It's
parasitic.
just a cancer that eats the everybody's potential income. They like to point to the rich. Very nice. Okay, but it now takes two incomes to basically support a family. All right, and you go take all the money from Bill Gates. Very nice. What's it going to do for me?
Yeah.
Nothing. This is a great, shell game. Mm-hmm. They keep pointing to somebody else. No, it's you. Don't point to somebody else all the time.
Yeah. Well,
go take all their wealth, and then nobody creates jobs. And then what do I have? Communism.
And we both grew up in New Jersey, Martin, in the late 50s, early 60s, and I assume you had a stay-at-home mom, and I did. And now that's an endangered species, the stay-at-home mother in the United States. They don't exist.
I mean, it's a lot of younger women today don't even want to get married because it's like, they don't know about raising kids or whatever. In Japan, they call it the celibacy syndrome. They're not the birth rate has collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't want to even have kids, and they don't know how to support them.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a very, very bad thing. I mean, it's nice they started the income tax in 1913. Same thing. Oh, it's only going to apply to the rich. Sounds nice. Everybody cheers. Come World War II, introducing the payroll tax. And they're always coming after you. They point to somebody else, but you're the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask somebody, well, who's rich? Well, somebody who makes more than they do.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
Yeah. Anybody who makes more than I do. And, at the politics of envy, always the grass is always greener on the other side because there's always more fertilizer there, right?
Yeah, like I said, Joe Biden, in the debates, the Republicans are for the super rich. He never says who they are. Just look at the IRS tax code, and you'll see it's household income of $250.
Yeah.
So that's a husband and a wife combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not exactly rich.
Yeah. So basically, for the time being, the dollar as the so-called reserve currency is safe, but at some point, it's going to be replaced. You think the IMF SDR is the logical replacement? Or
no, I don't think so. I think the IMF is a secret communist Nazi organization, but it should just be disbanded. But I think what you'll end up with is some sort of a basket of electronic currencies, because that's where we're going. They're trying to get rid of all paper currency. And
Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, you kind of nailed it before. You said the government likes it because they can track everything on it. And, and we see that it's not so safe as it was once billed to be. These exchanges have been hacked, and they're basically have stolen people's Bitcoins in the millions, and these exchanges have gone bankrupt. And your take on it? We're just heading towards digital currencies, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, you had Larry Summers come out, and the way things actually work is they get somebody to float an idea. and they see how everybody takes it. Larry Summers came out and said, we're going to have to go to negative interest rates, so they charge you money to keep your money in the bank, and go to electronic currency. Why? So that they eliminate people being able to hide money totally, and then they get their pound of flesh in taxes. This is what this is all about. I mean, the G20 has gone off. They've agreed, and they're all hunting everybody possible.
And I want to tell you a perfect example that I can see it coming. Starbucks, their new app, enables you to tip your barista digitally in many of their stores. Not quite all the stores yet, because they're getting $1 billion a year going through the tip jars at Starbucks. And you know that the government is not getting its fair share of that $1 billion. But once it goes digitally through the app, Uncle Sam gets its fair share of every dollar going through that tip jar, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just walk into Starbucks and try and buy something for the $100 bill. They look at you like, we don't have change for that.
Yeah. What? What is that?
Yeah, it's like, we don't even know if it's real.
Yeah, well, you know, now the currency, you're not even seeing fresh money come through the ATMs anymore. They're all dog-eared, bitten, filthy, disgusting money. You're not seeing new money come through any longer.
No, the actual printed money supply is less than 7%.
I know.
And
they're not refreshing
they're cutting it off as much as they possibly can.
I know.
Because their idea is that you have, whatever cash, and you're hiding it in a safety deposit box, and they don't get their pound of flesh. That's it.
You got it. That's it.
This is all about taxes. So we're still in this deflationary mode, and it's, that's where people talk about hyperinflation. I tell, please, that's just a distraction. Don't even remotely go there. Look at what they're doing. They're going after taxes, and more taxes. This is deflation. Mm-hmm. They're hunting everybody on a global scale. And a friend of mine in Switzerland got divorced. All right. They had a joint account. His wife is now opening an account at a different bank. Tried to simply split the account in half and send the other half I wired to the other bank. Wouldn't do it. They had to go down there and prove who she was, all right, it's her own account, and why they were doing it. They had to go in there with the divorce papers to prove why they were moving this money.
Their own money. It's their
own money.
Jeez. Well, try taking the money out in cash and see how much fun that's going to be.
Oh,
right?
The whole thing is, when I was in Switzerland last year, I could take 1,000 Swiss franc at the ATM. This year, 500. I mean, what's it going to be next year? 200, 100?
Yeah, well, what do you need cash for? You have credit cards, right?
That's basically what you hotels, you can no longer pay a hotel in cash. They're not allowed legally to accept cash from anybody for more than 1,000 euros.
That's remarkable. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. And you can see it's the electronic police state. The noose is tightening. We didn't have time to talk about the NSA, the massive spying, the fact that every email that you send, every text you send, every phone call is being recorded, and forget about Skype, which we're talking on now, all of that, everything's being recorded. Anyway, Martin, we got to run, but ArmstrongEconomics.com, you have any conferences coming up shortly?
No, we just finished some. Actually, there is a live stream they can watch the Cycle of War one on our site, but we haven't put the other ones on yet. But I'm not sure. It was like 4 days. It was a lot of work.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
not ready to do another one just yet.
Okay, well, hey, just go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Link will be in the show notes to Martin's site, ArmstrongEconomics.com. Don't forget to sign up to the newsletter. Martin, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on and helping us out here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to visit.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.